All right. So before I let Donald get started, I just want to thank everybody. First off, my name is Sarah Gary. I'm the interim CEO of Acadiana Planning Commission, and I just want to thank everybody for coming out today on this, I guess you could call blended LWI Region 5 meeting with the new Acadiana Watershed District. And the reason why I'm calling it a hybrid meeting is because there are a few steps that we're going to have to go through before we actually seat the official Board of Commissioners for the Acadiana Watershed District. But we wanted to be able to bring all of you guys who are new to the district. We do have a lot of folks that are the same appointment that we had on LWI Region 5 or now have been appointed to the new Acadiana Watershed District. But we do have a handful of folks who are new. And so we wanted to be able to integrate the new folks into the process so that they could see what we have been doing as LWI Region 5 over the past couple of years, as well as you'll see on the agenda today. The capital improvements team has been working very hard and diligently to score the round 2 projects. And so you're going to get a presentation on that today. And so we wanted you guys to be able to see that as well as just kind of understand, what we've been doing throughout this process. As we transition from LWI Region 5 into the Acadiana Watershed District, I would ask for grace, please. We're trying to figure everything out, trying to get it done properly in the right way in the timeframes that are set up by the legislation for us. So just please give us grace as we move along. And again, if you have any questions throughout this process, please don't hesitate to reach out to either myself or Kelia. If we don't know the answer for you, we'll definitely get it for you and get back with you. I'm going to allow Donald Bergeron, who is the chair of the LWI steering committee, to lead this meeting, and so we can officially see everybody on the Board of Commissioners. And at that point, we will elect chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and all of you guys will get to take an oath of office once we officially seat you as the Acadiana Watershed District meeting. Board of Commissioners. So does anybody have any questions thus far? All right, Donald, I'm gonna hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this public meeting of the Louisiana Watershed Initiative Region 5, soon to be known as the Acadiana Watershed District. I'm Donald Bergeron, and I'm chairman of the steering committee for the Acadiana Planning Commission, and I will be leading the meeting today. Agendas were made available online at planacadiana.org, as well as the email distribution list. The purpose of this public meeting is to consider items established by the agenda. Public input is welcome on these items. However, to ensure an orderly meeting, members of the public shall speak at the time designated. Please submit your comments and questions using the comment cards available or in the chat box if attending virtually. Comments and questions will be addressed during the public comment period. For our records to reflect your attendance and comments, please add your name and affiliation to the sign-in sheet or in the chat box. During the public comment period, towards the end of this meeting, please keep to the matter at hand and be brief. Time limitations may be imposed by the chair if necessary. Before commenting, please state your name, address, and affiliation. At this time, I will call on Ms. Kelia Bingham to call roll.
Thank you, Donald. We're going to do something a little different. So we're going to call roll a little bit later. Just wanted to give an overview of the Acadiana Watershed District, and then we have some special guests that's going to make some brief comments. Next slide, please. So the Acadiana Watershed District came alive, I guess, this year. This was part of the 2023 regular legislative session. We had Senate Bill 102, which was led by Senator Fred Mills, who's here today. That Senate bill became Act 323. So now we're legal. We're going to continue to function as LWI Region 5 for the purposes of the LWI grants. But like Sarah said, we're transitioning, to Acadiana Watershed District. So I guess we'll have a dual name for a while until we become official. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, an update on how we're going to do that. We're going to get ordinances from each parish having their participation for the Acadiana Watershed Districts. Obviously, we're using science to make our data-driven decisions for elected officials. That has not changed. Water management planning, we want to consider that on a regional watershed basis. This is the same as Region 5. Next slide, please. And we still have the same boundaries. We still have our 16 parishes and representatives from those parishes. We have the same watersheds, Mermentau headwaters, Vermilion Teche, interactions with Trapwai Basin. Our representatives, our board will consist of the 16 parishes. We'll have 2 extra members. We're going to have a representative from the Senate and House Committee on Natural Resources. So we'll have a total of 18 members. Next slide, please. So back in 2021, we had to do a series of exercises that LWI wanted us to come up with. These were governance exercises. And from this work is basically how we got our legislation. So our current and future goals, we're looking at planning and development, outreach and engagement, project development, implementation, of course, data and modeling. Again, promote consistent watershed-based floodplain management policies. We want to develop a regional watershed mitigation plan, that's another agenda item later. There's some funds through GOSEP, $1 million that we can get for Region 5 Acadiana Watershed District. And if we have a type of hazard mitigation plan or regional hazard mitigation plan, that could help us receive funds from GOSEP directly. And that was one of our goals. Promote best management practice for the community rating system. So with the National Flood Insurance Program, we have the community rating system, which is an incentive-based program, and we need more participation in our parishes. We developed a program in the CRS user group called RAIN. I had to kind of shelve that just for a little while as we've been doing legislation and transitioning into the district. But I want to continue in that group and reach out to parishes and see how we can get that participation to happen, because ultimately you save insurance, flood insurance premiums are reduced, plus, getting the word out about flooding, preparing our citizens and community members, and hopefully reducing localized flooding. So we want to promote parish collaboration with municipalities or local drainage districts, all the entities that are involved in our watershed. Provide planning, technical assistance. We're going to continue to seek out external funding opportunities outside of LWI, and assist. Future goal is to assist in the operation and maintenance funding for projects as well. Our data and modeling, we want to regionally house, use, and maintain our watershed model. We have the University of Lafayette, Louisiana here, the UL Watershed Flood Center, who's a partner. Very important with our Acadiana Watershed District. And so we want to use their knowledge and expertise to help with our local regional model. We want to financially sustain the model as well. It's a current, a future goal. And we have a regional gauge network called the Acadiana Regional Gauge Network that comprises 8 parishes out of our 16 parishes. It's been a long time coming, but they're in contract negotiations, and hopefully we can get some gauges installed. So I just wanted to kind of give you this overview. This is something that has been, our steering committee has been thinking about it. And now with Act 2323, it's become a reality. Next slide, please. Okay, if anyone has any questions or comments. Okay, we have a special guest. Senator Fred Mills would like to say a few words, please. Thank you.
I'm not ready for re-election. I just want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank Ramesh and UL and all the team that y'all put in. And I guess the real thing, y'all know what y'all are doing on this. It is neat to see, though. It's nice to see a concept become a reality. A lot of times you pass legislation and it never gets implemented. And with the work you've been doing and the work you'll do now, we'll implement it. And I guess my statement is just thank you. Thank you for taking this lead, and thank you for the legislation basically forms the governance. It forms how we put the structure together. It forms powers and duties that you have. I know you'll all be going over that. And the only thing I guess we would have to concern ourselves with in the future is there were 2 pieces of legislation. I had the regional portion, which we partnered up with UL, we partnered up with the leadership of all the parishes that you represent. We were very successful. We were not successful with the legislation to basically give the powers and duties on a state level. And I will tell you, the way we had amended the legislation, it really would have given everybody some governance in the future. It is done by executive order, so we have a new administration that's going to come in. So I think as leaders, you may want to kind of have that discussion with the new governor and his team to make sure that the work you're doing continues to flourish. So I'm just here really to tell you all thank you. I want to thank everybody that we work together on it. And many times we pass a piece of legislation that kind of stays dormant. With you guys, you'll make it work. So thank you all so much. And I appreciate the work you all putting in. And I think it's going to be fabulous to partner up with UL. There's portions of UL, and Ramesh will probably talk about that, but it'll give everybody an opportunity to take science and move forward with it. So just came to tell y'all thank you. That's it. Thank y'all so much. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Senator Mills. Appreciate you being here today. We were going to have Senator Heather Cloud and Senator Bob Hinskins, but they're unable to come today. Also, we have Representative Cousin is ill. So we're going to have our next remarks from Dr. Ramesh Kalra. He's with the Vice President of Research, Innovation, and Economic Development, the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you so much, Kelia. And before I start, I want to give another shout out and a round of applause to Senator Mills. His work during the session, his political acumen in understanding when to push, when to pull back on the larger of these initiatives was at grand display during the session. And we all as a community owe you a special round of thanks and gratitude. I also want to thank Monique and the entire APC team and our legislative delegation who got behind and supported you. You are the envy of our state, as you know. This region, how well this region has come together, how leaders of this region have come together, how certain parts of our state have been already leaders in kinds of things that we've been trying to do, and this legislation will allow us to do. So you're in the catbird seat, and as a university, it is a great thrill for UL Lafayette to be a part of this team. The center was established, the Louisiana Watershed Flood Center was established right after the 2016 floods, because we knew that as a university led by Dr. Imad Habib, who's in the back, Imad, if you would be recognized, the university had intellectual capacity. We had researchers, we had resources that we could bring to bear. And so as such, over the past few years, 5 years and running, this center has become the epicenter for science, for research, for the region and for the state, working with the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. And what this legislation does is to make it a community resource. This center has been, and that's in large part thanks to the leadership of Senator Mills and the APC team and our entire legislative delegation working hand in glove. The center has focused on delivering science to policymakers, but it does that working with public sector partners, private sector partners, and making sure that the work and the intellectual assets that we have at the center make our homes, our businesses, and our places where we go to work, where we raise our children, safer and more resilient to these kinds of disasters. And what we've been trying to do in the past few years, especially last year, we worked and collaborated with Senator Cloud, and in bringing some of these capabilities into parts of the state that do not necessarily have the technical expertise and technical resources, so that as a center, as a public university, we are delivering on our public good mission. And this legislation is just the wind beneath the sails, if you will, for us to do more. I'm pleased to announce today that going forward, we will do something that historically we have not engaged in at significant levels, and that is to conduct a series of trainings for local engineering community, for elected officials if there would be a need, so that the hydrological models that we have developed for over the decades with funding from National Science Foundation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and various other resources that we have developed over the years are now available to the community. We will work with elected officials, we will work with your engineering teams, public sector and private sector engineering firms, engineers and engineering firms, if you will. As part of that effort, we'll also release the data and the models that we have been working on and accumulating. This is something that we have done for 2 years now with the Louisiana Watershed Initiative, And they have been able to use that as opposed to investing in new models to be developed. They leverage these models that have already been developed, that has been going on for 2 years now. But now what we are able to do with this legislation and us becoming not only a research center, but thanks to the vision of the senator and our leadership in this community, it has now become a community resource. So we couldn't be more proud. I know, Imad, that's more work for you and your research team, but I couldn't be more excited about making this as a community resource, because what at the end of the day, you are working toward, and we as a tool in your toolkit are working toward, is to make our communities safer and our communities more resilient to these kinds of disasters. So with that, I want to thank you and the leadership of APC for continuing to shepherd this process. And I'm going to urge you to continue to lead as you've been doing for the past few years. Thank you.
All right, so next, we have Mr. Donald Segrero from the Tesh Vermillion Freshwater District to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Tesh Vermillion Freshwater District operates in about 5 parishes within this newly created district. And we are very honored and very happy that we're being able to participate in this watershed district. And we assure you that we hope to do that, and we want to be here to support your efforts. The mission of Tesh Vermillion Freshwater District is to supply a freshwater source in Bayou Vermilion and in Bayou Tesh. And we do that by pumping water from the Atchafalaya River whenever we're running into these real dry situations like we are right now. So because of that, our district has several structures within the watershed. So these structures are used to regulate flows between Bayou Catawba, Bayou Tesh, and Bayou Vermilion. So being that we're part of doing that, I think it's important that we cooperate and be of assistance to you in accomplishing the missions that you have in drainage. Our district collects data every day, as much as we can, from the gauges that are out there in the watershed right now. So more gauges, we feel that more gauges are needed. So even before the Louisiana Watershed Initiative started, we were working with Acadia Planning Commission on putting out more gauges. So that since then, we have been partnering with the district and the Louisiana Watershed Initiative District 5 in getting the gauge project underway. And our district wants to participate in the long-term maintenance of those gauges. So we're looking forward to that. I think things are moving forward ordered, and we're looking forward to those gauges become a reality. We also have been working with HDR Engineering with their modeling, and also with the UL Flood Control Center in determining how to best operate our structures and our pumps in order to minimize the risk of flooding, especially whenever we're getting some threats from tropical weather or any type of predicted rainfall events, so that we can reduce the levels of water within the watershed, and also operate those structures after the rain to be able to get rid of the water as fast as possible. So we all recognize the need for local drainage districts. I myself sit on a local drainage district in Vermilion Parish. So we know that all of these districts are doing drainage maintenance on a daily basis. So that all of that is continues on, but the regional approach to drainage, we feel, is very necessary, and that's why we're thankful that this district was created. The regional approach to drainage, I think, is going to help us to be able to get the funding that we need, and also to be able to spend that money more efficiently, and also to get the best results. So congratulations. And we look forward to working with the group in the future. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
We're gonna call roll before we take any action.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, we're gonna do a committee, our transitional committee watershed district roll call. From Acadia Parish, Mr. Earl Garber.
Here.
From Allen Parish, we have Gardner Rose or Mr. Tyler Tellier.
Here.
All right, thank you, Gardner Tyler. From Avoyles, Mr. Jacob Coco.
Here.
From Calcasieu Parish, Mr. Terry Freelo. Cameron Parish, Mr. Scooter Trosclair.
Here.
From Evangeline Parish, Mr. Chester Granger.
Here.
From Iberia Parish, Mr. Ben Longlinay.
Here.
From Iberville, we have John Clark. I don't know if he's online. Is he John? Okay. From Jefferson Davis, we have Mr. John Morso.
Lance Pierce on behalf.
Okay, yes, thank you, Lance. Perfect. Okay, for Lafayette Parish, we have two, Jessica Carney, Mr. Robert Benoit.
Here.
Thank you. Point Compee Parish, Mark Ward. Okay. From Rapides Parish, Mr. Matt Johns.
Here.
From St. Landry Parish, we have two as we're transitioning, Mr. Carl Okwa and Mr. Van Reed.
Here.
From St. Martin Parish, Mr. Chester Cedars. He's online. From St. Mary Parish, we have either Tim Mott or Jean-Paul Berg. Okay, from Vermilion Parish, Mr. Keith Roy. All right, roll call is complete and we do have a quorum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our first action item will be approval of the meeting minutes from February 23rd. And the CIP subcommittee meeting minutes on July 20th and August 3rd and August the 10th. So we'll review the regional steering committee meeting minutes on February 23rd. And after review, I'll ask for a motion to approve. I move. We have a motion from Keith Roy. Do I have a second? Second by Jessica. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item will be the approval of the CIP subcommittee meeting on July the 20th. Also move. Moved by Mr. Earl Garber. Second. Second by Mr. Matt Johns, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Our August the 3rd CIP subcommittee meeting. Also moved. Moved by Mr. Earl Garber. Second. Second by Mr. Matt Johns, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And finally, the August 10th meeting. Also moved. Moved by Mr. Earl Garber. Second. Second by Mr. Matt Johns, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, next will be a report out of the CIP subcommittee meeting by Mr. Earl Garber. All right.
All right, appreciate the opportunity to give you guys an update. As you can see, we just approved a bunch of minutes in a hurry, but went through 3 meetings. We had a lot happening at those meetings, and actually it was exciting to get to the point where we had some work to do in the CIP, because we worked along the way building some guidances that I think will be greatly used by the future board that's going to take over an area in Region 5, the legislation that just passed. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's great that we got this going on a regional basis. And so I think we'll have great things happening here out of our region. So yeah, the main thing we want to point out is that we had those 3 dates where we had meetings. Our focus was to do the ratings, and you should have all of this in your packet. You should have one of these rating sheets in front of you. I hope everybody has one. If you don't, let us know if you need one, so we can kind of go through them here. As we got into this rating, we saw right away in the first meeting that we needed more information from all of these candidates and applications. So we appointed a subcommittee of the subcommittee to work up the questions, and your questions are going to be in your packet. It should be the first, the first page. If you open up your packet, just past all of the minutes we just passed. We don't have it numbered, but it's called Region 5, Round 2 Pre-Application Region Rating Process. And I'd like for y'all to get to that page if you could, where it shows what answers we were looking for to the questions that were put together by the subcommittee of our CPI committee. And the reason we felt this was important was when we looked at the initial process, we right away knew we needed more input to allow us to put a rating to these applications as to whether they were high priority or medium priority or low priority. That's what the state was requesting: a high priority, a medium priority, or a low priority rating, so that they knew where to focus their time on the state level on the high priorities from our region and all the other regions. So we felt like that the applicants could better answer those questions. I want to thank the team of 3 or 4 of our members and a couple of engineers that volunteered to assist them to put the questions together so that we could give a fair rating to this. So we got it up there now? Okay. So let me give you all kind of a picture of how we got to the ratings by working with this questionnaire. In that top category, we had to rate it in 3 different categories. That's what the state requested: the regional mitigation needs. So we were looking to see how many of the RL and SRL areas were affected, and if there was one or more, then it would get a positive rating there. And then we looked for answers to the next 4 questions. So you had a possibility of 4 points for that category group. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go to it kind of quickly through how we rated. So you got a possibility of 4 points. Feasibility. You had a possibility of 5 correct answers that we felt would give a positive vote towards a high rating in that category. And it's all no's what we were looking for. And you can see why, because land acquisition and permits and different things would slow down a project being completed. So we felt it was important. We knew how much of this was out there that could slow this project down to be completed with the money that's going to be available. And then the last category is the LWI round 2 scoring. Are you a good standing with the CDBG and the projects able to incorporate NBS and other modeling impacts? So you had 3 possible points there. So think about it. 4 possible points at the top, 5 possible points at the middle category, and 3 at the bottom. So when you take that into consideration, then you put we put a rating to each one of them. And if the top category, if they got a 4, then they had a high rating on that category. Okay, so we have one rating there that we had to come up with. If they had 2 to 3 of them that matched what we felt was necessary, they had a medium rating. And if they only had 1 of them that hit the positive note, then that was a low rating on that category. So each category had the possibility of getting a low, medium, and high rating. So we went through each one of the projects. The middle one was 5 possible points. So 0 to 1 was low, 2 to 3 was medium, 4 to 5 was high. And then of course the bottom one had 3. So 3 is high, 2 is medium, 1 was low. So when we did that, we would assign 3 points to each category. So if they got a high in that first category, they got 3 points. If they got a medium, they only got 2 points. And if they got a low, they only got 1 point. And we did the same thing in the next category where we had 5 of them. So if they got a high, they got 3 points. If they got a medium, they got 2, and then they got 1. So you see how we worked our way all the way to a final possible score. The highest possible score would have been 3, 3, and 3 of 3 high ratings. So you had 9 possible points. So that's where we then said that 7 to 9 would be high, and 4 to 6 was medium, and 1 to 3 in scoring was low. So we came up with a total scoring of a high, medium, or low for this project that way. So I was trying to point out how we worked our way through a scoring system to help rate them. And again, I'm gonna thank the group that put these questions together, because I think this is the only way we could get to this point to put this type of rating in place. So you have in your packet how they were all rated, and I don't think we need, should we put the main chart up now, Celia? Let's put up the main chart, the big chart that we have, which has our final ratings up. Okay. So what we agreed to as a subcommittee was that if they ended up with a high rating somewhere in that 7 to 9, then they got a high rating across all 3 of the categories. And let's shift to the right. There you go. In other words, if they ended up with a high based on our scoring system, then we gave them a high all the way across, so that we submitted that to the state as a high rated project from our area to be considered for funding. And you'll see that we have some medium. Now, we took one more step forward, and we did it in light of regional concept. We took all of the medium rated projects, the ones that fell in the medium group, and we said, okay, is there any reason that a medium rated group or project should possibly go to high? And the group said that if it was reaching out into 2 parishes, 3 parishes, 2 or 3 communities that it affected, then we felt that that was the regional concept we were looking for that should maybe move a medium project into a recommended high rated project, because it was multi-jurisdictional. Now, we did not, everybody was in 1 parish or 1 community, so that did not move a project up to the high because everybody was in that position. Let's just use Glenmora and Rapides. I mean, everybody was there, and same thing with the Vermilion project and so forth. But if it affected 2 communities, 2 towns, if it affected 2 parishes, or in that effect, we moved that medium to a high rating because it was the regional concept we felt should be considered as a regional group. So that's how we did it. It was a little bit cumbersome, but I feel very good about it. I think the membership feels good about how we went at it. Everybody was in agreement. So now you have all of the ones that are rated high, which is a pretty high percentage. We had that discussion, but they're all very good projects. So I guess I would now ask, is there any questions about how we did this? And so if not, then our recommendation from the subcommittee is that you would approve this ratings that's showing this chart that's in front of you as to which one's a high, which one's a medium, and which one's a low in our region 5. Anything else you want to add, Keegan?
These were all in your, the committee members, board members, in your agenda packets, each, answers from each entity, and kind of how we came about that process. Just let you know, these ratings are due today to the state, August 31st. We had 32 projects total. I think we had 15, the LMI was verified, 17, the LMI was not verified, but if they're rated high, then the state will go back and see to reevaluate that low to moderate income requirements for HUD. We didn't receive, I hadn't received results for 1 project. That's why it says that that's further down. I think it's from the Coshada tribe. I hadn't received their answers yet today. But other than that, we have had answers submitted for all the rest of the 31 projects.
I'm going to accept that. So that was a motion by Keith brought from Vermilion Parish. Do we have a second? A second from Earl Garber from Acadia Parish.
Can we ask Colin, do you think we'll get that information? Okay, because I mean, we have the system set up here, and them can apply these principles to it and get a rating so they would fit into the big picture. So my recommendation is that if you can furnish the data, we approve it based on them providing it before we have to send it in. If it doesn't make it today, then it doesn't.
And I will reach out. I have been in contact with them. I just haven't received the answer, so I can reach out. Yeah. Okay.
So we're approving that project contingent on supplying information.
Right.
By deadline today.
Like if I get the information, I can send it out to the committee members.
All right.
Best way to word that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Garber, and all of the members who worked on the capital improvement program. I know it was a lot of heavy lifting, and y'all did a great job for a number of years, and this is kind of the fruition of that work. So appreciate y'all's work. All right, so that was the approval of the round 2 pre-applications. Now we'll go on to the HMGP IDA funds. That was a $1 million of supplemental money we had. Just for a brief explanation, each region will need to submit a brief scope of work project description and a rough cost estimate by September 29th. This is an extended deadline. The original deadline was September 15th. We're proposing these funds go to regional or supplemental regional hazard mitigation plan. This will give us direct access to apply for FEMA funding at the Acadiana Watershed District. I believe most of our parishes within the district have existing HM plans. These activities will bolster existing hazard mitigation plans to add to a regional hazard mitigation plan. CRS FEMA guidelines states that integrating mitigation planning with flood management planning will increase credit points under the NFIP community rating system. We do have a challenge in our region as we do not have many parishes or municipalities participating in CRS. Again, one of our goals for the district is to increase this participation. RL and SRL area analysis could be up to $100,000 per parish, and we need to prioritize parishes. Celia, you want to add something here?
Thank you. I just wanted to give you, we have some extra technical resources that could add to this potential regional hazard mitigation plan. So right now, all the regional watersheds will be tasked with working on a regional watershed plan. So the state, which is also in your packet, there's a draft state watershed plan, and the regional plans will align with the state, but also be specific to those regional needs. And so there's a way maybe we can incorporate our hazard mitigation plan into our regional watershed plan as well. So that's an upcoming resource to add to a potential regional hazard mitigation plan. Also, at the last meeting, we have the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, their floodplain management services program, or Silver Jackets. They're giving us technical assistance. The study is examining highly flood-prone structures within the LWI Region 5 boundary that qualifies being socially vulnerable. And they identify 16 parishes about having 850,000 people. So just a little tidbit for you to know. We have a lot of people in our parishes. So having these two resources, I think, can help with a potential, like I said, regional hazard mitigation plan, which GOSEP, we did get approval. The planning funds can be used for this. And part of that, I don't know if the whole $1 million will be used for that, having repetitive loss or severe repetitive loss analysis for our parishes would also be beneficial. So we're looking at that today. Needed a consensus from the committee on what we want to spend the $1 million from GOSEP on. If we have a regional hazard mitigation plan as the Acadiana Watershed District, we can get funds or apply from funds to GOSEP and get those funds directly to the districts. That's a huge advantage as well. Again, like Donald said, the deadline is September 29th. Originally it was September 15th, so I'm glad we have an extension. I'd need to provide a brief scope of work of the project and a rough cost estimate to GOSEP. And GOSEP, you know, they have their SAL, state applicant liaisons, helping us with this project application. So just wanted to put that out to the committee. If anyone has any questions or comments or ideas, but I would like to get a consensus, have a formal action that we can go ahead and pursue this
Did you say you had handouts for that? I don't see anything in that.
No, I do not have handouts. No, sorry. Yeah.
So the general idea is my question is you're consolidating the pieces of other parish hazard mitigation plans into a regional plan, just the pieces that fit inside this region. And then also tagging on to that, what?
If the cost allows, we're looking at repetitive loss to severe repetitive loss analysis for each parish. That would apply to the hazard mitigation plan, because these are elements in the, going back to the community rating system, that you get points for CRS for having these, like a hazard mitigation, they call it a floodplain management plan, as well, and repetitive losses, severe repetitive loss analysis.
Your SRL and RL analysis, is that going to consist of just getting the data from FEMA for the region and then, analyzing it, or is it going to consist of a new methodology for determining SRL and RL? Because that's one of the big gaps we have now.
I don't know. Yes, we propose, it's kind of general right now, but maybe that could be part of the project description to get your input from. That was a suggestion that we had. And again, I need to, GOSEP did say anything to bolster hazard mitigation plans for the parishes, because I understand that maybe there's a template that they need help on specific, so either filling in the gaps and that can act as like a regional plan. So that's kind of what I was told. So those specifics I would need to work out with GOSEP.
This is something that is beneficial for the whole region. When you got $1 million, it's not going to go very far if you look at a project. But if any of you are in the room and you see that you have a project on there that was not rated high, that's probably not going to get a lot of consideration when the state council looks these. So if you got one that's rated a little bit lower, which you really feel good about, make your case, because if it's in the cost realm of $1 million, you could try to pitch that here. But in light of that, may recommend in a moment after some discussion of following the staff recommendation of doing this hazard mitigation zone region, since it's something that would benefit all of us. Might want to make a pitch for $1 million project.
That's putting one on the spot, but yeah.
All right, I'll make the motion to accept the recommendation of the staff and pursue a regional hazard mitigation plan supplemented with RL and SRL analysis.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion from Matt Johns and a second by Earl Garber. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So
Thank you very much.
we'll meet that deadline.
Yes, and more details to follow. I'll keep the board and the committee abreast about exactly specifics I get from GOSEP. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Mr. Pennison?
Yes.
All right, next we'll call on Mr. Garland Pennison, to give us an update on the Region 5 watershed model.
Thank you, Mr. Donald. We are currently about 75% complete through the regional plans for the Huckett watersheds. Chaffelad, Tesh, Vermilion, Mermentau headwaters at Mermentau. We're in the process of calibrating and validating those models. These are very, very large models, very complex models, as you can well appreciate living in the district. We are delivering our survey, all of our compiled survey information. I want to say kudos to DOTD for basically managing this project in addition to the work that they had, day jobs they already had. This is a massive, massive effort. Just in survey data, we're dealing with terabytes of data, models. All of the information that goes into the models will be massive terabytes of data. The Water Institute, UL, TDQ team, CPRA, the Corps, all those that are members of the TDQ team, each of you that represent the various parishes. I couldn't be more proud to be, a native of Region 5 in Morgan City, and spent a good portion of my career in Central Louisiana with Matt, and been here for the last decade. I think we have a lot to be proud of. As someone who grew up in the Chaffelay Basin, this is going to be a challenge, though. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. These models are really, I'm very hopeful. They will be in good hands with DOTD and UL. I know Dave in the Corps are looking forward to getting these models and on the west of Chapel study. I mean, there's so much going on in the Chapel Basin and everything that's connected to it and the levee system that was put in to protect everybody. Terry, I know you guys have enormous challenges over there in Calcasieu, Cameron area. This has been a really fun effort. I think you will like the products. You know, it's been a long time since I've been involved, such a massive project that's involves 6 other regional consultants that between all of the consultants involved, they represent the best of the best in the nation in terms of modeling. I can tell you there's in our internal calls when we meet with other consultants, whether it's Fence to Maker and Region 4 or whoever, and we have these discussions, there is a great consensus of opinion. Some of the smartest minds, and I don't include myself in that, in the business. And these models will really be state of the art in terms of what we can do. We're building these models to be very complex, but they can be devolved. I appreciate also all the work that the consultants are doing at the local levels to progress these other projects without the models being available. You know, the vision that you've created with Region 5 to create a regional consortium that will, build on the work of the local consultants, but yet have the ability to model at a regional level, regional solutions is just going to be so beneficial. I mean, we're working closely with CPRA, the Water Institute, in terms of coupling the coastal models. We have one of the more complex regions that there is in the state. We have the 5th largest river, the Chapel River, which Dave is the chief engineer of the lower Mississippi, is well familiar with and is just doing a spectacular job. I'm excited to see the Corps doing the big study on the lower Mississippi River to determine the distribution of sediment and stuff. I know Mr. Earl has been involved in this for many years and just excited to see so much come out of the fruitions of, diligent work that also recognizes the people that live in the district, our farmers, our rice farmers, our crawfish farmers. One of the things I just add is in closing is, be aware that these models, as such, one of the members of our team is Gary Bruner, who basically developed this model almost 30 years ago with HEC Center, where Dave also started in Sacramento. This model will also allow, water resource management to become a topic, not just flood control, but also water quality, water resource management. It's one of the things that drives so many people to live in our area, besides the culture, is our abundance of water and energy. That's, but what we're older people like myself have realized in the years that we've lived, it's not something that we should take for granted. It's a resource that has to be carefully managed, and these models will allow us to do that. So kudos to everybody that raised their hands. I'm not sure you fully understood what you were raising your hand for, but I know from having worked with the Region 5 Steering Committee and Acadiana Planning Commission, the vision is real. Thanks to Fred Mills for basically, and Jean Paul and all the others that basically drove this, because Jerry with CPRA, I mean, this is going to be, Donald, a test for me, and it's going to be a lot of talent in that room, path forward in making these careful and needed decisions. If anyone has a question on modeling before I sit down, I'll be glad to answer it. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Sarah, you want to?
All right, so we'll just kind of go over next steps, and I may have to call on Kelia for some of this, but now that the legislation is passed, there are certain things that we have to get done. And so our next order of business will be going to the police juries and parish governments for presentation and ordinance adoption. We're in the process of drafting an ordinance. Once that's done, we'll get our legal team to look at it and then send it over to everyone so that their legal teams can look at it. And that's just, showing your participation in the district. So the Board of Commissioners is either the parish president, the way it's called out in the legislation, is the parish president or police jury president or the Lafayette mayor president, in Lafayette's case, or their designee, right? So, we'll not necessarily ask for you to call out who your designee will be, but we'll show that. If it's not gonna be the parish president, I think we've gotten most of the designees of who they will want. If that would have changed, we'll just ask them to, send out an email or a letter, something on a letterhead to us, so that way we know who their formal, person will be. As I said earlier, once we seat the commission, everybody will take an oath of office. We are working with the local judge here on the schedule. Right now, we tentatively have, I think, a meeting scheduled for December. If that works out, we would ask everybody, who's going to be sitting on the board to be here, so that way we can administer that oath of office to everyone. Once we sit, the next order of business would be to elect a chairman, vice chairman, secretary, treasurer, establish bylaws, which I think the plan is to use the bylaws from the LWI and just kind of retrofit those to fit the commission, the Watershed District. And so once we kind of have those done, what we'll do is we'll send that out, so that way everybody kind of has a draft of what that would look like. Obviously budget and funding, and then establishing a meeting schedule. The other part of the legislation is that it does establish a technical advisory committee. So you guys are the decision makers, but you will have a technical team that will advise you, kind of like what you saw Mr. Earl get up here earlier and give. The CIP was, the lack of a better term, the technical to the steering committee. And so on the technical advisory committee, it does list who is involved on that. And we have been reaching out to those individuals or organizations to see who they would like to sit as their representative. Kelia, just to name a few on the technical.
It'll be like a total of 13 members, so we'll have a representative Soil and Water Conservation District 4, Tetra Million Water District, UL, Louisiana, Lafayette Watershed Flood Center, NRCS. We're gonna have members at large of municipalities with population of 30,000 or more and 30,000 or less. We'll have 2 of each. We'll also have some appointed by DOTD, CPRA, and the Army Corps of Engineers. So have a very good technical advisory committee. What I like about it, so you have local, state, and federal representation to advise our board of commissioners.
Does anybody have any questions about next steps? Yes.
Right, that membership for the technical advisory committee, that's set by the legislation?
Yes.
Okay.
Non-voting.
Non-voting, right.
Non-voting.
Yeah.
Only the board of commissioners will have voting rights.
Any other questions on next steps? Okay. I think our next item of business, we do have a tentative meeting scheduled for December 6th. That's currently on the books. If something changes, we'll let you guys know, but tentatively it's Wednesday, December 6th from 10 to noon.
Sarah,
Yes, sir.
I hate to ask this.
No, go ahead.
Can we step back
Yes.
because we didn't touch on budget and funding?
So
You want to discuss that a little bit so everybody that
Right,
come
so-
on, they realize the challenge they have?
right now, we have no budget. And the funding, we are funded as LWI. And so a lot of those funds will be that's kind of what we'll use is the LWI funding at this point in time. And going after, obviously looking for grants to kind of keep this ball rolling with the district. Like you guys voted on earlier, the $1 million for the HMGP fund. So that'll kind of help bring some funding in there. And if we can get the HMGP funds, get that plan in place, then we can actually apply and become the Watershed District can become the direct recipient of some of those GOSEP funds for particular projects. But again, I think we have a good project inventory from you guys. for current projects that you've either applied for or are applying for in this round, or future projects that you would like to see done. And so, we'll use that and seek out the best funding sources. But the reality is, that's kind of how we're gonna handle funding for the, foreseeable future.
When I presented it to Acadia, that was one of my main points, and I think as y'all work with your governing body, make sure they understand. I mean, this is gonna be a new group. And yes, there's some LWI money for another year or two, maybe, but the whole idea is when they take on the responsibility of being a member, they're gonna have to also be, participating in making sure funding will come to this body to survive the long haul. I think that's key, that your police jury understands that. That's why I brought it back. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have a few miscellaneous updates. Killia, I'll let you kind of go first.
As I said earlier, the state has a draft initial watershed plan that is in your agenda packet. Oh, I'm sorry, that was emailed to your agenda packet. That's like 100 something pages, so I didn't print it out. I'm gonna kill too many trees. But that you receive that electronically. And comments are due on September 15th. Anything that stands out, we could submit that to the state. But again, this initial state watershed plan will serve as a guide for the regional watershed plans. But again, each region will come up with our own watershed plan for specifics, to our region with our needs are. And the watershed plans are due the regional watershed plans are due in 2024. So we'll be working on those as watershed coordinators, steering committee members, Acadiana Watershed Districts until next year. Yes, sir.
We're gonna submit, comments as a district or individually.
Both. I think what I could do is that I'll send out a reminder. And kind of before we had comments, it's up to you, but I could submit it collectively if we'd like that. I could take comments for individuals and compile that, and that could speak on behalf of the steering committee or board. So you just email me with any comments that you have, but I'll send out a reminder as well. Okay, also, in your, I think maybe electronic agenda packet, and I've sent emails. We also have able to make public comments on the LWI Action Plan Amendment 3. I do have a copy of the press release here at the table. That is due on September 7th, so that's coming up very quickly. There's several, I guess, amendments. It's considered substantial amendment because there are funds being moved around. Basically, ones that stand out is that they would remove round 3 and they would allocate $100 million to Region 9. So those public comments are due September 7th. Yes, Jessica.
Okay, so Garland just said that the models aren't ready yet. They're gonna be ready at the end of the year. So round 3 was supposed to be our opportunity to look at those models and come up with great regional projects. And the amendment that is proposed right now takes all of the funding out of round 3 and puts it into round 2. So no projects that would be coming from any of the regional models statewide, for that matter, will have an opportunity to get any of this LWI money. So just think about that. If you want to send a link to other people to comment on this in the public forum. So just, that's a pretty substantial change.
Yeah,
And there's $100 million going to Region
9, yeah.
Which is really a subject.
Right, and so part of what, and I'm gonna let Matt talk too, because he's split in 4 different districts, I think Rapides is. And so part of what I think we would like to do as a district is potentially pass a resolution allowing us to object to this plan amendment. Again, because like Jessica said, round 3 was always supposed to be based on the science, right? The models are not ready. So some entities did not apply maybe in round two because they had a more regional project and wanted to wait for the models to be done. Some didn't, I mean, some did. So anyway, so the taking away of the round three funding is a big issue. The other big issue is the fact that they are giving Region 9 $100 million direct allocation. So what we plan on doing in the letter that we're going to submit is essentially, and the $100 million is going for transformative projects. And I think Region 9 maybe supplied a list to OCD. I'm not 100% sure, but what we're proposing is, hey, we object to your amendment, but if something happens that your amendment goes through, we just want it to be an equitable share. And so we're going to ask for about 15 million for our own transformative projects, you know, through this process. If they're going to give $100 million to Region 9, they have 3 HUD mid parishes, just like we have 3 HUD mid parishes. And so we just kind of want it to be equitable. And so we're going to ask, if you're going to get rid of round 3, we've got a bunch of transformative projects we'd like to fund. And so we'd like 15 million of that 100 million. So I'll kind of let Matt talk, because Matt has obviously a unique perspective, because he is split up in a bunch of different watershed districts.
All right, I've had a little bit of practice of doing this. Forgive me for getting on the soapbox for a minute. The idea is that it probably should piss you off if you've been paying attention to this from the start. Oh, all right, preach to the choir then. So you guys, we were told this is what this program is going to be from the very start. We started waving the banner and saying, all right, we believe we're going to do big transformative things. We're going to do regional projects. We're going to, you know, we're not going to continue to do the same things we've always done. So we go out and start trying to sell it to the locals. Hey, this is what's going on. We've got money to do it for a few years, but eventually we need it to be locally sustainable. Can you believe what we're doing here? Can you buy in? And we start to do that. And there's some things that we were supposed to deliver. Choices, decisions on what projects were funded through round 1. If you guys remember for round 1, what we actually got was the illusion of choice. We got, oh, here's $5 million that the region can allocate to projects. Also, here's the list of projects that are eligible for your region. And guess what it adds up to? $5 million. Are we really choosing anything there? That was the first thing. And you remember people were up in arms about it. And I was actually up here trying to be an apologist on behalf of OCD, understand what they were fighting, but it still sucked for locals. Secondly, we just went through round 2. People were told, here's the deadline, submit stuff. You're still going to have a round 3 out there. A lot of our folks did not submit for round 2, thinking they were going to wait for round 3 to use the models to validate what they wanted to try to pursue, or to be inspired for big ideas, which is what this whole thing was about to begin with. Well, now after we passed the deadline for submitting projects for round 2, now we're being told, oh, round 3 is going to go away. So anybody that was waited, boom, you're screwed, just completely out of it, which stinks, you know, if this amendment holds. So that's another big thing where we go out and we pitch, and now we look like the bad guys. And what does that do when we go to our locals in the future to say, we want to try to make this thing sustainable? Will you allow us to charge an impact fee, or don't say the dirty word, some kind of tax to make this thing work? Nobody's going to say yes. You know, they're going to say you burn us every step of the way. So as the middleman, honestly, between the state and the locals and trying to deliver large scale projects that do real benefit, we are, God's honest truth, trying to do good here, right? And we've been, the goalpost has been moved so many times that we're left holding a bag and looking at the bad guys. So because of the removal of round 3, what they just mentioned with Region 9 getting $100 million directly allocated, we asked OCD directly. Sarah and Rachel and I went yesterday, sat down with Pat Forbes and said, hey, what's really going on behind the scenes here? And they've got good logic behind it. It's just the way that it happened really stinks. So here's the logic so that you know what they're thinking. And they have 3 mids in Region 9. Region 9 didn't exist till a few months ago whenever they were carved out of Region 7. If you look at the map now, 7 is split. There's a little piece over here, and then the rest of 7's over here. Region 7 still retains 3 mids. Region 9 has 3 mids. Region 5 has 3 mids, and then the one sole one hanging up in North Louisiana around Washita Parish is the 10th one. Those are going to get some kind of special consideration. Right now, what it looks like is that Region 9 got all the consideration with $100 million direct allocation. The reason they're saying that they deserve more, in spite of the fact that they've got the same number of mids as Region 5 and Region 7, is because 80% of the PA claims or public assistance claims and 95% of the individual assistance claims all came from those 3 mids. Now, that was massive, but that's solely based on one storm, the 2016 great flood of August. Anybody up north, we actually remember the spring floods in 2016. That was what was devastating to us. So the folks that helped line up this money at the federal level, Garrett Graves and a bunch of others, their whole idea was that this storm is dictating everything. Well, when we start preaching what we're trying to do statewide, we're trying to do monumental change, massive shift in the way that we think and focus on doing these things. This is huge. So because they're making us use the data from the fall 2016 flood only, then that's what's kind of prohibiting us from saying, well, you've got more problems than just what happened around Baton Rouge and Tennessee Springs and that area. You've got massive flooding that happens all over the place, depending on what storm you're looking at. If you focused only on the spring 2016 floods, North Louisiana could have a much larger allocation, but that's not how they're pushing things. So that's the justification from OCD. The vast majority of those claims, PA and IA, came in that region, so that's why they think they're justified in not only having 38% of the money so far spent in Region 9, now adding another $100 million to that. Yes, sir, Dr. Abi.
I'm gonna say, if you take the 2016 storm and drop it over, or even here and model it, you will get just as bad.
Absolutely. And that's what this is meant to solve all of them. This is not only to prevent that exact storm event. It's meant to try to help all of us, be a good bit more resilient, have better mitigation for storms in the future. So the goalpost being moved, round 3 being removed, 100 million going directly to them. At the very least, I'm going to offer a motion to add to the agenda that we offer a formal opposition from the region, and then pray that every one of you go home and write a very sternly worded letter opposing it as well. So we would have to add it to the agenda and then vote on it. But those are the big things. Obviously, we've got a kind of ace in the hole in the fact that we have 3 mids and we believe they're going to give some kind of special allocation for that. Let's go ahead and ask for well, if they're going to get 100 million, why don't we get, well, she's saying 15, ask for whatever, but to have an ask because we've got 3, maybe 7. So yeah, I guess if at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, and any questions before we get into any further into that?
I just find it kind of amusing how now they're gonna focus on the HUDs, because they want to give 100 million to that one area. And they haven't been focusing on those 10 HUDs, so that's the part I don't understand.
I think they're okay percentage wise. They were a little behind after round 1. Round 1 got massively, all of it's been massively political. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be what it has been. Get the money out the door, so that, anyway, y'all know. Yeah, I'll step off the soapbox for just a minute, but thank y'all for listening. I offer a motion to, one, I guess we have to add it to the agenda first. Add a motion to the agenda for a recommendation for Region 5 formal comment on the action plan amendment number 3. That'll be just to get it on the agenda. So that's my motion.
Motion to add to the agenda from Jessica Carney,
And second,
a second by Keith Roy.
It has to be
It
unanimous.
has to be unanimous from the steering committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, now it's on the
Now we
agenda.
have to, we can have a vote on these on this agenda item, which is to add an amendment to the. Repeat it.
Sorry, this is it's to make a recommendation from us on offering a comment formally for action plan amendment number 3. My motion will be, now that it's on the agenda, that we as a committee oppose. Allow the staff to write the letter, write the comment on our behalf that highlights all the points we've already talked about, so we don't have to rehash it.
All right, that is the motion.
And are you guys okay with us asking for money if the amendment, if they move forward with the amendment, we ask for 15 million of that 100 million?
How'd you get to 15?
well, they're gonna divide them all up. So I'm gonna get whatever you want.
I mean, if we want to do it evenly, we can ask them to split it evenly between 7, 9, and 5, because we all have 3. So split the 100 million 3 ways.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we contact Region 7 to get them on board and also write a letter? Or at least get them in favor of it?
We can.
CRPC would be,
Yeah.
I would think.
So, Ms. Kelly. So.
They've already
7
done
is
it?
already opposing.
Oh, very good. All right, so we have a motion on the floor,
Second.
taken by T. Roy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right, thanks,
Thank you.
guys. We appreciate it. We'll, go ahead and, once we have that language drafted, we'll send it out to you guys, so that way you can see it. Julia, when's the deadline? The 7th? Yeah, so once we get it done, we'll send it over to you guys and we'll send it over to OCD for their official public comment.
So
Yes,
is there a deadline for this comment?
September 7th. Yes, sir.
Next week.
We oppose.
We're opposing them taking away,
Region.
basically round 3, right?
That's right. No.
Right, we're opposing round 3.
Yeah, okay.
But if the amendment goes through, right, and what we're gonna say is,
Yeah, then split the.
take the 100 million and split it between the 3 regions that have the 3 HUD mid parishes.
Fair enough. Okay. Are we ready for public comments? Do we have any online? Okay,
No, sir, we don't have any public comments.
all right.
I got one.
Anyone in the room? All right.
Sorry,
Matt?
I know you've had to listen to me talk too much already. So we don't end negatively. I want to say something positive. Dr. Pennison, this is the only region that has consistent updates on the modeling statewide that I know of. And so I want to say thank you to Dr. Pennison in front of everybody for taking the time to be here and keep us up to speed on what's actually going on. Thanks, man.
Comment from Kathleen Morgan.
Would you mind turning up in front of the folks online, can hear you on the mic?
So Kathleen Lunn is our engagement manager, and she's a consultant with LWI and has been very involved and active in Region 5. So we appreciate her. Her help and so she has a couple of comments.
Thanks, everybody. I think I know many of you, but just wanted to give a little more detail about the public comments for that action plan amendment. And it's on the sheet, one of the 2 sheets that were at the door. On the back of the page is action plan. Members of the public can submit comments. And the first one is emailing to ocd@la.gov. All comments submitted online that you would submit or on behalf of your parish or yourself personally, it's required by HUD that the state respond to those in writing to you. And it all becomes a part of the official record that HUD reviews. So when HUD receives, and when the September 7th deadline passes and HUD receives the request for the action plan amendment, they'll receive all the public comments, all the responses to your comments, and they will consider that over a 45-day period from September 7th and make a determination whether or not they will accept and approve this action plan amendment change or modify it. You know, I'm not sure the process that would go through if they modified how they distributed the $100 million, you know. But I did want you to know that the comments would be responded to, anything that you submit. And you also can mail it. They have 3 ways you can submit it, but I figure that most people would use online comments. Also, I just wanted to state that so far, in terms of the money that's been allocated through the state funding in LWI or regional and local projects, 38% of the funding has been for Region 9 projects already. So close to 40% has already gone there. And really that was primarily it. I just really want to salute this region, you know, work across the state with the regions. And I know this has been said a lot today, but it is really astounding that you've accomplished creating this regional watershed in statute at this point and held on to the vision of the regional management of watersheds, because, you know, as Matt said, this is transformational, but so far, like most of our submissions are local, because we have so much need. And that's what we're used to doing, is applying at the parish and municipal level. And so I think that you open up the opportunity to really let this thing grow the way it's meant to, and just want to support it any way I can. And that's mostly it. There was one more thing I wanted to say. It has escaped me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I have a question for Garland.
Good. Garland, would you mind in lay terms to just explain a little bit about how water quality, how the models will benefit with water quality determination and water resource management in general?
Sure. I mean, the RISE models, the hydrology and hydraulic models that are being developed that UL will basically manage, are capable of modeling any range of flows. So generally in water quality, you're looking for you know, the normal depth of normal flow. With some minor additions in terms of advection dispersion. You know, you can basically begin to add in models that read the rise information and then basically are able to run it through water quality assessment models. I really look that it becomes a big part of test for millions, probably management protocol, et cetera. So I could not give you a vision like full as to where it's going, but once you have a model that represents the entire, you know, whether it's fence to maker in region 4 or region 5, these models will be able to be used for more than just floodplain management. There are other models, and it's going to be interesting to me to see the challenge that the Corps is taking on with the West of Chafalaya study, particularly if you get Mermentau headwaters included. I think, you know, the Corps is definitely, along with CPRA as a local sponsor, is definitely well positioned to deal with those really big regional, what to do, you know, those big multi-billion-dollar projects that are needed to finish out what was originally started all those years ago. So yeah, that's looking forward. The other thing I'd mentioned, Sarah, is that, you know, for some time, just listening into our DOTD calls, there's been discussion that if there were these regional scale models that needed to be evaluated in the model, the pending task order for doing design storms, consequence analysis, et cetera, it probably made sense if there was that known project that needed to be evaluated as a regional solution, that the most efficient way, the timely way to do that is to include that in task order 4, which is pending with DOTD. And I know there's some discussion going back and forth. Dr. Habib was left with the TDQ team and DOTD and HUD and OCD. Basically, do they add in some of these proposed solutions into the models so that our teams that are deeply versed in those efforts and the model setups can quickly model those? I think in terms of expediting solutions, you know, it's not to take away anything. A large number of these projects that are on the book for LWI do not have to be modeled really at a regional scale. They just don't. But some of the ones that are bigger, that probably would have been around 3, can possibly be modeled by, I know that Billy Williamson, the project manager for DOTD, has talked about that in the past, you know, putting in 2 or 3 projects that really have regional solutions. So just think of that path forward in terms of how do we expedite and find out whether things work or not work. That's probably the way to do it.
Thank you, Dr. Any other public comment? All right. Well, at this time, I would like to say thank you very much to Acadiana, to Sarah, and all the APC team. I'd like to especially thank Mr. Matt Johns, Mr. Earl Garber, the chairman of our subcommittee, and especially thank you to all of our steering committee members in each of the committees. We put in a lot of time over the last 5 years, but I think we've come up with something good and something to build on. And I know that the new organization, the Acadiana Watershed District, we were all striving for to get some type of a long-term structure here and governance, and know that they'll be successful going forward. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all for coming. We do appreciate it. You know, and we will definitely get in touch. I'll let John get to the best part of the day.
Well, over the last 5 years, we had a lot of meetings, but I'm proud to say that not one of them ran over, and this one is included, even with all the information we brought in. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Scooter Trosclair, second. Second by Testa Grande. All in favor?
Aye.
No ayes? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Derek, I got that.
Meeting.